For the first time this series, I really have no idea how to start off this week's opening. All I can really say was that I wasn't looking forward to this episode much, but it gives me something to do instead of sitting on my bum all day waiting for the postman to arrive. Not that I really have much in the post these days apart from letters ensuring I have a TV license, which I don't, and the occasional Amazon order, but that's beside the point. I won't give the whole game away about what I thought about this week's episode because I summarise my opinion at the end of my videos, which if you're subscribed to my channel you should already know this formula by now. Skip to the end if you really can't be bothered to hear all of it, but I won't talk a load of nonsense for any longer because I'm sure if you're new to my channel you'll probably want to hear what I have to say about the Zygon Inversion by now, so I'll shut up and get on with the task at hand, whether this week's episode of Doctor Who sucked or not. Enjoy! The episode opens with a very interesting dream sequence that I thought was great as it brings out a bit more creativity than we commonly expect from Doctor Who these days. The clock telling undecipherable numbers and the black toothpaste with the obvious text printed onto its tube was excellent and amusing to watch, and it's a shame the rest of the sequences of Clara in this semi-dream state don't delve any more into these surrealist kind of situations after the first 5 minutes of the episode. Our first problem with the episode comes when Bonnie blows up the plane the Doctor and Osgood are in. I know I should suspend my disbelief and all that, but I knew from the moment the first rocket missed that the two of them would survive no matter what happened from that point onwards. We have another 4 episodes of the series left after this one, and the Doctor does kinda have to be there in order for the show to carry on, because Doctor Who without the Doctor is not Doctor Who. Oh God, not you as well! Clara starts chasing a hobo, and I wonder if this little section that we see is the same location as the one used in Flatline. They look pretty similar all things considered, and to me this seems a bit cheap that they couldn't shoot outside anywhere in London aside from a place they shot last year. All they've really done to try and make this different are these Zygon stickers littered around the place. I do appreciate, however, that Bonnie, whilst inside Clara, constantly smiles wherever she goes. It's quite sinister that one of the commanders of the Zygons has this sadistic smile on her face whilst trying to conquer the world. Bonnie then zaps the stranger and he starts transforming into a Zygon. She then pulls out her smartphone and records the dude she just converted and slaps it on YouTube. The Doctor and Osgood then parachute onto the set of Lost. Osgood then truly proves that she is on my level because she points out what the bad guys always fail to do when the Doctor intervenes. They don't kill him before he starts talking. I said this previously in my review of the first 2 Dalek episodes, but killing the Doctor is not only a stupid idea, but it seems like the only decent idea left that would actually put the bad guys at a high point of status in the episodes anymore. Unfortunately, we've already had an episode start off with the Doctor dying in the first 10 minutes 4 years ago, which certainly put a spin on the expectations of Doctor Who back when, but again the problem was that there were episodes still to come in the series, making his death as a plot device ultimately pointless. Clara then proves herself to be a complete iPhone whore when she has the ability to text the Doctor without even having it in her hand, as well as having her eyes closed. This can either be interpreted as clever social commentary or just trying to be down with the kids. I bet on it being the latter. The picture of William Hartnell proves to have a purpose after all, which I quite like, as a vault holding what I assume is Osgood's laptop. Bonnie then smashes it on the ground, and for the first time Jenna Coleman actually squeezes out some raw emotion, and she's not even playing Clara. In fact, Bonnie on several occasions proves herself a more interesting and emotional character than Clara has been for the past 2 years. The Doctor and Osgood have a pointless conversation with 2 Zygon police officers and they decide to FaceTime Bonnie. If this segment doesn't emphasise why I'm more willing to bet that this show is trying to pander to teenagers who do nothing but hide behind their smartphones all day, I don't know what does. Once again, the Doctor goes against his own principles by making yet another pun about planning to conquer planets, but he makes a good point about the winking and that he's old enough to be the Zygon's messiah. I'm appreciating the little jabs at religion that the show makes from time to time. I can't off the top of my head remember when the last one was, but there definitely was one. The Doctor and Osgood drive off in one of the most uninteresting cars imaginable. At least Pertwee had the grace to drive around in Brum back in the 70s. You could have picked something with a bit more style, Doctor. Then again, if you were trying to escape, you probably would drive in the first car you find. Bonnie returns to the pods and the two Claras have a conversation. The two of them really don't have much distinction between them because they are both extremely dull in their performances in this sequence. I'd love it if the Zygons could punish the people trapped in the pod by disorienting them with nightmare-like scenarios, just like the person inside the dream can transform the Zygon outside. Unfortunately, we aren't given that luxury and have to put up with these two arguing about where the Osgood box is without much emotion between them. They bicker for a while and then, despite Clara couldn't get rid of Bonnie earlier in the conversation, she can suddenly switch her off just because the script says so. Slightly sidetracking here, but I thought I'd put a little idea out there about the Zygons. At first, I was considering complaining about how the design of the Zygons is the same for every Zygon. I think their interest in conquering comes from a subconscious desire to be individuals. The Zygons seek planets where the inhabitants vary in visual appearance and biology, and spitefully conquer or destroy them out of pure jealousy. This is why I think the Zygon that Bonnie converted decides to kill himself in the end. I will stand by the fact that they are pretty lame bad guys by this point in time for a show that should be coming up with more original ideas, but I'm perfectly okay with all of the Zygons in their original forms looking identical. Osgood's first name sounds like a type of food poisoning, and the Doctor claims to have the first name of Basil. I'm not sure if this is some obscure reference to something, but if anybody has any idea what Basil has anything to do with anything aside from it being a throwaway to Osgood that he's not going to give his name away that easily, let me know in the comments below. They find the human Zygon and it kills itself. This was quite an interesting part that demonstrated that despite what the Commander wanted this Zygon to believe, he wanted nothing but to live out his life, especially how he would take his own life because of the knowledge that he was not part of the majority. Stuart then comes back from America and reports back to Bonnie. It would make more sense to truly see if the Zygon in America has succeeded in killing Stuart by simply asking Stuart to transform into her original Zygonic form. It was quite obvious that Stuart wasn't going to appear in this episode as a Zygon, considering that, like I said last week, we didn't see her die. Bonnie would have proved herself a more intelligent bad guy if she had only made that one request to Stuart, then the Zygons would have succeeded. You had enough brains to possess the Doctor's companion, yet was blindsided by your own ability that you were born with? Clara's pod then gets pushed around in a trolley, which in my opinion looks quite hilarious, and Bonnie finds the Osgood boxes. They break open the pod so Clara can wake up, and the show wastes our time by showing us how Stuart survived, despite the script does a good enough job for us to explain it after seeing it visually. The Doctor, Osgood and Stuart then arrive with Bonnie, Clara and the Osgood boxes. For some reason there's a Maya helmet from the 5th episode on display them the entire time. Why should I need reminding of that appalling episode when so far there have actually been good things in this episode? Anyway, back to the good, or I should say fantastic. I certainly think that the strongest element of this episode is Capaldi in this scene. From his game show host cheesy American accent to mock the whole situation they're in, as well as that beautiful monologue he delivers about him having to kill his entire race to end the Time War. He does an excellent job at proving to Bonnie that what she and her race are going through is not worthy of a revolution because she doesn't actually know what she wants apart from a war to settle her problems. This scene, at long last may I add, puts the Doctor into a position of rightful authority because he explains how things are going to pan out in black and white to these people, with tension added from the Osgood boxes. This is emphasised further when Stuart and Bonnie put their hands over the boxes and the Doctor goes back to his mocking American accent. This scene's power struggle between the three is beautiful and was certainly a highlight for the episode. Capaldi actually brought shivers to me whilst watching this scene. Firstly, when he ferociously delivers his dialogue about the pointlessness of war and letting people just sit down and talk about it, and secondly when he retorts to Bonnie claiming that he cannot imagine what it is like to be in her situation. The emotion that Capaldi brings in his delivery here, as well as the somber music, brings a whole new dynamic of character that I don't think we've seen in a long time on this show. Stuart then closes her box and apologises to him whilst the music allows tension to build as to whether or not Bonnie will close hers, who eventually does after a long and uneasy pause in action while she figures out that the boxes are empty after all. The Doctor then wipes Stuart's and the two Zygons' memories so that Bonnie can become the replacement Osgood. This ties up the story quite nicely, and I'm very happy we still don't know which Osgood is human or Zygon. It could be the case that they're both Zygons, considering we know at least one of them is a Zygon, but this is great because at the end of the day it doesn't matter. They're both doing their job to keep 20 million Zygons living on Earth happy and blissfully unaware, and that's what matters. I don't get, however, how this second Osgood just appears out of thin air though. That just doesn't make any sense. So, did it suck? You know, I was quite pleasantly surprised considering the dull state of affairs we had to deal with last week, and despite not a lot happening this week, I'd say that the scales are more in favour of giving this episode a thumbs up from me. I give this episode a 7 out of 10 because the creative juices in the script flow well, and Capaldi's performance here is possibly the best I've seen it so far in his time as the Doctor. The scene with the Osgood boxes was particularly strong, but the episode was not without its faults either, such as missed opportunities, predictability, and that fucking helmet!
They got helmets on their heads, but I gotta want them alone instead!
Wait. Let's do it. This can either be interpreted as... God, I went really quiet there because I lost my breath. Trying to be... Oh, no. Jesus, I don't know what is up with my voice. I can't articulate. This can either be interpreted as... This can either be interpreted as... Why am I fucking this bit up? Ooh. Ooh. The Doctor and Osgood drive off in one of the most interesting cars imaginable. No, it's not interesting, is it? That's the point. Bonnie drives. Bonnie does not drive. I need my inhaler. I don't know what is up with my voice this morning. This is really annoying. I'm fucking Osgood. Look at me. Right.